Kevin Stefanski should be fired. This here is another fireable offense. We have Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski, who has officially benched starting guard Wyatt Teller for being honest about Shadur Sanders not receiving reps from the Cleveland Browns.
Are you freaking kidding me? The guy has played hurt and been elite. The guy has busted his ass. The guy has been one of the good guys in that locker room. And by the way, the $230 million quarterback that you traded for that embarrassed the franchise with all the crap that you brought, that guy couldn't be bothered to be a part of the damn community. Wyatt Teller came in day one and was a part of the community.
Wyatt Teller was honest about it. He was loud with his support for Shadur Sanders, and he's now being punished for it by Kevin Stefanski.
The Cleveland Browns, an organization perennially shrouded in turmoil and self-inflicted controversy, have once again plunged themselves into a maelstrom of dysfunction, this time centering on the baffling and seemingly punitive benching of veteran guard Wyatt Teller. This decision, ostensibly rooted in performance or a murky injury designation, reeks of organizational rot and petty vindictiveness, exposing a franchise fundamentally adrift in its priorities and deaf to the principles of respect, loyalty, and straightforward football logic. The saga is not merely about a lineup change. It is a profound symptom of a deeper sickness, a case study in how to demoralize a locker room, sabotage a rookie quarterback's development, and alienate a fan base through a cascading series of tone-deaf, contradictory, and ultimately destructive choices.
Who said he had a calf injury?
The Browns said he hurt his calf. Kevin Stefanski said he hurt his calf. Said he hurt his calf in the fourth. But he said it was a performance issue. Something ain't right.
At the heart of this firestorm stands Wyatt Teller, not a marginal player, but a cornerstone. For 7 seasons, Teller has embodied what the Cleveland Browns purportedly want their players to be: tough, consistent, community-oriented, and elite. He has played through pain, earning Pro Bowl nods, and establishing himself as one of the most reliable interior offensive linemen in the league. Off the field, he immersed himself in the Cleveland community from day one, building a genuine connection with a city desperate for athletes who see it as more than a pit stop. Teller's crime, in this instance, was not a decline in play, a locker room tantrum, or a public smear of the coaching staff. His transgression was honesty and advocacy. He voiced support for rookie quarterback Shadur Sanders, the team's number 2 overall pick, and pointed out a simple developmental truth: the kid was not receiving sufficient practice reps to properly prepare and grow. This act of leadership, a veteran player looking out for a prized rookie's welfare, has been met not with appreciation, but with alleged retribution. Following his comments, Teller was abruptly rotated in and out of the lineup during a critical game against the San Francisco 49 ARs, a baffling strategy for a player of his caliber. The explanation offered was a nebulous performance issue. This claim collapses under the slightest scrutiny. Independent analysis from Pro Football Focus graded Teller as the highest performing offensive lineman on the entire Browns roster during that very game. Not adequate, not struggling the best. The football evidence refutes the coaching staff's narrative entirely. The following week, against the Tennessee Titans, Teller was listed as out with a calf injury, an injury that neither he, his family, nor keen observers seemed to fully corroborate. The timeline is damning. Supportive comments about Sanders, followed by a bizarre rotational demotion despite elite performance, culminating in a benching cloaked in the dubious veil of a soft tissue ailment. The official story therefore rings hollow. When a player's wife and mother take to social media with cryptic, frustrated messages, the stench of dishonesty becomes overwhelming. This isn't the reaction of a family dealing with a straightforward football injury. It's the reaction of those witnessing a good man being wronged. The Browns' communication, a muddled soup of performance, injury, and the ominous statement from coach Kevin Stefanski that Teller would have to show some things upon his return, is the language of obfuscation. What precisely does a multi-year Pro Bowl guard, coming off a game where he was his unit's top performer, need to show? Does he need to show more than a career of elite guard play? More than sacrificing his body for the franchise? More than being a pillar in the community? The insult is profound, and it lands in a contract year for Teller, a 30-year-old veteran for whom this next deal is likely his final significant payday. The organization isn't showcasing his value. It's actively suppressing it under a cloud of manufactured doubt. The stated rationale for exploring other options, like playing Kevin Zeitler, is that the Browns are auditioning for the future, rebuilding the offensive line for next season. This excuse is intellectually bankrupt and operationally negligent. First, Zeitler is a known commodity with years of NFL tape. No audition in live regular season games is required for professional scouts to evaluate him. Second, and more catastrophically, this audition philosophy is fundamentally incompatible with the other stated and crucial organizational goal, evaluating rookie quarterback Shadur Sanders. If the franchise is genuinely invested in determining whether Sanders is its future, the paramount objective must be to create an environment conducive to his success. This means providing stability, protection, and continuity. You do not, under any coherent football strategy, engage in musical chairs along the offensive line when developing a young quarterback. You start your best five, period.
Willing to play musical chairs with their offensive line, what do they really think of the quarterback playing behind them? If they took Shadur Sanders number 2 overall, if he was the number 2 overall pick, would they be messing around with their offensive line?
Creating chaos and uncertainty in front of Sanders is not an evaluation. It is a sabotage. It forces him to play behind a destabilized unit, heightening the risk of injury and poor performance, which then can be conveniently used as evidence against his viability. This leads to the darker, more disturbing implication lurking beneath the surface. Does the coaching staff and perhaps the front office truly believe in Shadur Sanders? If he is the undisputed top 5 pick future of the franchise, why would they not be doing everything in their power to insulate and support him? The decision to bench Teller, a vocal Sanders supporter and his best protector, suggests a troubling ambivalence. It fuels speculation that Stefanski and others may be hedging their bets, perhaps even creating conditions for Sanders to fail, thereby justifying a pivot to another quarterback option in the future. Why else punish a player for advocating for the rookie's preparation? Why else introduce volatile, unnecessary variables into the ecosystem surrounding your most important investment? The conspiracy theories write themselves because the actions of the Browns' brain trust are so illogical from a pure football standpoint that observers are forced to consider ulterior political motives. The ramifications of this petty drama extend far beyond the individual fates of Teller and Sanders. This is a locker room culture issue of the highest order. What message does this send to every player in that facility? It screams that honesty is punished, that loyalty is disposable, and that advocating for a teammate, especially one the organization claims is central to its future, is a fireable offense. It instructs veterans to keep their heads down, their mouths shut, and to prioritize self-preservation over team unity. This is the antithesis of a winning culture. Look at the league's model franchises. The Chiefs, 49ers, Eagles organizations that empower veteran leaders, encourage constructive dialogue, and foster an environment of collective trust. The Browns, under Stefanski's handling of this situation, are cultivating a toxic environment of fear and cynicism. When players see a respected veteran like Teller treated with such apparent contempt for a minor act of leadership, trust in the coaching staff evaporates. Without trust, there is no team. The painful irony of the Wyatt Teller saga is thrown into brutal relief when contrasted with the organization's handling of quarterback Deshaun Watson. The Browns guaranteed $230 million to a player with immense off-field baggage, a quarterback whose on-field performance has been middling at best, and who has been criticized for a perceived lack of connection to the Cleveland community. Yet, Watson's standing appears unassailable. Meanwhile, Wyatt Teller, the model professional, the community pillar, the consistent performer, is the one deemed expendable and subjected to public humiliation. The organizational priorities are grotesquely inverted. They have chosen to lavish unconditional support and capital upon the player who has given them little, while undermining the player who has given them everything. This moral and strategic bankruptcy is the defining characteristic of the modern Browns. Furthermore, this crisis calls into question the burgeoning reputation of Kevin Stefanski himself. Touted in some circles as a potential head coaching candidate for other teams should the Browns move on, this episode reveals potentially fatal flaws in his leadership profile. Prime head coaching candidates are managers of men, culture builders, and clear, consistent communicators. They do not traffic in confusing, contradictory messaging. They do not bench their best players for nebulous, evidence-defying reasons. They do not create quarterback controversies or preside over locker room fractures. If Stefanski loses the respect of his players over the Teller debacle, and it is difficult to see how he retains it, his resume will be stained with the mark of a manager who fostered dysfunction, not a leader who inspired cohesion. So, what happens now? The immediate future holds more tension. Teller is sidelined with his questionable calf injury. When or if he returns, the dynamic will be irreparably damaged. Can he ever trust the coaching staff again? Can he play with full commitment knowing his honest words led to his benching? The relationship may be fractured beyond repair. For Shadur Sanders, the landscape is now poison. He must operate knowing that supporting him has become a dangerous proposition for his teammates, and that the organization's actions contradict its stated commitment to his development. He is being set up in a no-win scenario, asked to produce behind a deliberately weakened line with the sword of Damocles hanging over any veteran who speaks too loudly in his defense. The Cleveland Browns stand at yet another crossroads, a familiar junction on a road paved with failure. One path involves a measure of humility, acknowledging the mishandling of the Teller situation, reinstating him with a clear and honest explanation, if one even exists that isn't damning, and committing unequivocally to building a stable, supportive environment for Shadur Sanders. The other path is the well-trodden one, doubling down on the decision, persisting with the opaque and punitive approach, and further entrenching the cycle of distrust and disappointment. History, that relentless referee, offers a clear prediction of which path this franchise will choose. The benching of Wyatt Teller is not an anomaly. It is the latest, most vivid chapter in a long-running saga of organizational incompetence. It is a story that underscores a simple, ignored truth. Treating the right people wrong and the wrong people right is a recipe for perpetual failure. The Browns, in their bewildering cruelty towards a loyal soldier and their negligent instability around a rookie hope, have once again chosen to blow it all the way at their ass. The fans, the city of Cleveland, Wyatt Teller, and Shadur Sanders all deserve infinitely better. They deserve a franchise that understands that success is built not on petty power plays and contradictory schemes, but on respect, stability, and, above all, a fundamental commitment to doing what is right, both morally and for the simple, unvarnished sake of the game. Until that day comes, the spiral will continue, and the Browns will remain a stark testament to how not to run a professional sports organization.